Havana Syndrome, that mysterious illness that had diplomats abroad reporting symptoms like vertigo and extreme headaches, all consistent with a head trauma. Well, it turns out the U.S. may have actually finally found a device that's responsible for it.
Now, according to new reporting from CNN, within the last days of the Biden administration, the Pentagon secretly paid tens of millions of dollars for the alleged device responsible for Havana Syndrome. The device reportedly produces pulsed radio waves, and while it's not entirely Russian in origin, it does contain Russian components. In the year or so since the purchase, the DoD has reportedly put the device through extensive testing, and defense officials apparently considered their findings serious enough to brief the House and Senate Intelligence Committees last year. Following those reports, Mark Zaid, a lawyer who has represented nearly 36 Havana Syndrome victims, called for further transparency from the government, posting to X, quote, "This could be the thread that unravels it all. Health incidents that are the product of foreign attack and intel collection against the U.S. government personnel. Our government must reveal all that it knows."
But while victims and advocates saw it as vindication after years of denial, some couldn't help but gawk at the 8-figure price tag. Journalist Ken Klippenstein wrote in his own post, "Sorry you can't afford health care. We had to spend at least $10 million on the Havana Syndrome ray gun." Okay, well, I don't know. I like Ken a lot. I don't know if that's...
I thought about that was a lot of money.
It's kind of a lot of money, but we have to get to the bottom of the... So what was alleged was very serious. Now, I will admit, I was deeply skeptical of Havana Syndrome as a concept. I thought this was mostly made up. So if it is true that it's because of this military technology that we've obtained, that's what people were saying, and I disagreed with them. So I will take the L. I get the L if this checks out. I fully admit that.
Okay, that's good.
And they have... Okay, they have something. So what happened is, it's Havana Syndrome because this was in Cuba. We had a military personnel stationed there, and they all got sick with these symptoms or whatever, and it was alleged that it was some kind of weird like seizure-inducing like science fiction weapon thing, which sounds ridiculous, but. And also the symptom, headaches, whatever it is, that can be symptoms of many things. Also, people, it happens. People, I tripped and broke my leg. Now the U.S. government's got to pay for my medical care forever, right? There was an ambulance chaser component to this, which is my skepticism of that lawyer, Mark Zaid. However, it sounds like they got a weapon and they think it could actually do what the people's ailments corresponds with. So I would like to know more information. I was skeptical of this going back years, but then we talked to Catherine Herridge, who's an independent reporter, does stuff on X, used to be with Fox, used to be with CBS too. She's been she's fantastic. And she thinks there's some real validity. She opened my eyes to some real possibilities of government malfeasance here. It's interesting.
And it definitely is. As you got me into this story, I saw that the government had put out 3 different public responses. So in 2022, they said that some cases could plausibly be caused by something. So they were open to looking into it. In 2023, they said it's very unlikely, use those words, that a foreign enemy did anything like this. And then in January 2025, that assessment was still standing, but they said they can't completely rule it out. And so a lot of people who were affected by this, having vertigo or having these dramatic symptoms, like you said, and I know how it could easily get into conspiracy theory lane, were saying that they felt like the government downplayed or ignored a lot of this evidence and even gaslit them in certain ways. Some of them are calling for a public apology right now. And so I think at the very least, people who have been affected, it's almost like, reminds me as I read this story about like Agent Orange. People wanted to know exactly what happened. And now we're seeing, Colin's father is 100% disability because of Agent Orange fighting in Vietnam. So I understand that fight back and forth that he had to do with the VA just to cover that, because they weren't even acknowledging that that's why he had these ailments. And so this is not like historically, there's nothing to compare this to. I think that we can definitely acknowledge that something could cause major health issues, but we have to just be aware that a lot of veterans don't feel seen when they're saying that they're bringing up real incidences, and it's almost like for years, the government at the very least has been kind of mocking them, and everyone else, I guess, made this seem like it was some kind of conspiracy.
Yeah, they said it was very unlikely, and maybe it was very unlikely, but, every now and then a very unlikely thing happens. That's not crazy. Every now and then there is some genuinely crazy thing. That's why you can never dismiss conspiracy theories entirely. There were a lot of the things that sounded crazy about COVID ended up being much more plausible than experts or whoever media claimed it at the beginning. People got derided, got labeled conspiracy theorists explicitly for talking about whether it might have come out of a lab. Now we still don't know for sure, but that is the conclusion of many of our spy agencies, many of our Department of Energy, CIA, FBI, all think it did come out of a lab, and that was something that got you branded a conspiracy theorist. So
if we have firm evidence that this is a Russian device, what are the next steps in that? That seems pretty serious. And then the second thing, since you want to accept and give breath to all conspiracy theories, I guess you're pulling back your animosity towards Candace Owens, who there may be a chance that the unlikely thing turns into a real thing. Yes.
Right. Well, when they have the ray gun in this case, so if Candy Cane can present, she can find me the Mossad agent that actually murdered Charlie Kirk, then I'll change my tune. Or find me the doctor who performed Brigitte Macron's sex change operation, then we can play ball.
I think that we need to consider, especially given the state that we're in right now with Russia and the way that I think maybe I brought you on board to think that Putin is wholly kind of mocking President Trump and his behavior in regards to Ukraine, and then having this device that has essentially like poisoned soldiers of ours. Is that something that I feel like escalates tensions in this moment as we're already doing things that are irritating China and Russia, like talking about Greenland and, protecting ourselves from these mysterious ships they have going around.
We pretended to be Russians or something to go acquire that. We're like meeting with Boris and Natasha. Where is ray gun to kill moose and squirrel? Finally, get them.
Are people satisfied with this result, though? I mean, you said a lot of people are labeled conspiracy theorists online. Now, there's CNN thorough reporting that was money paid.
No, I think people
conversations happening.
I think the prevailing sentiment is we were right. The people who said this is a thing, and we're glad it's finally being paid attention to. I don't think people are having the reaction that this is. Can't believe the amount of money we paid for this. Well, that might be well worth it to find out about some experimental ray gun science fiction technology. I don't know. Well, I don't want Russian agents beaming ray guns at us that make us sick and give us vertigo and headaches. That seems bad.
Well, do you think that the CIA should publicly apologize? There's one victim, they didn't give his name on CNN, that's saying he feels vindicated and he wants a public apology, even though I guess maybe we don't know, the CIA hasn't accepted this as firm, concrete.
I mean, let's, make sure this is real first, because maybe Russia wanted to pretend they had a ray gun, or maybe we just bought it from some guy. I mean, I can't take law enforcement's word. People are selling ray guns out the back of their trucks in the streets of DC. I like, where did this come from? Does it actually work? Was this actually the Russian government, or did you get tricked by someone who's also interested in Havana Syndrome? Maybe it's just like it's a prop from the Star
You think our government and CIA is that dumb?
Yes.
Wow. That's next level. That is next level. Up next, a political newcomer in Florida is proposing a 50% sin tax for all income derived from OnlyFans.
Oh, we're having some fun here today.
We'll be right back after this.